Here on the Clara CFO channel, we have been talking about how to improve your cash flow in your business. And one of those things that we don't always talk about, but we should, is how profit relates to cash flow. Okay. Now, I've done a video kind of talking about how to look at your P&L and how to, kind of compare that to your cash. But I wanted to talk specifically about the importance of profit. And profit is, remember, the number that is revenue minus expenses equals profit. And I see sometimes small business owners trying to make this big effort to decrease the profit as much as possible because they're so afraid of paying taxes and they don't want to pay taxes that they are trying to get their profit to zero and basically just not have any profit in their business. But I want to tell you that is not sustainable. It will not help you grow a business over the long term, and it is not going to help you achieve positive cash flow in your business. Okay, so because profit and cash flow are so important and we need to talk about them together, I want to tell you guys today about the jobs of profit. There's 5 specific jobs that profit needs to do for you and your business, and I'm going to walk you through that. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Smolinski. I am a fractional CFO. I own a CFO agency called Clara CFO Group, and we help businesses improve their profitability and improve their overall financial leadership in their business and make better strategic decisions to overall improve the quality and the value of their business. So if that is interesting to you, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're trying to figure out how to improve the financial health of your business. This is a really great place to be, and we'd love to have you here as a subscriber. Okay, so understanding profit. So again, revenue minus expenses equals profit in your business. But that profit number, and I'm gonna just also say that this is for cash basis businesses. The way that I'm talking today is gonna be specifically about when you have revenue associated with the cash coming into your business, and then expenses is the cash going out of your business, specifically for your business expenses, and then the leftover is your profit. Now, that profit number can be manipulated by non-cash things like depreciation and amortization, but I don't want to get too much into the weeds of that for this video specifically. But I want to say, just very simply, if you're a cash basis business, typically your revenue minus expenses is going to be your profit, and that's going to also be pretty correlated to the cash that you're able to do something with in your business. Okay, now accrual-based businesses, their profit showing on their P&L might have absolutely nothing to do with their actual cash. So if you're an accrual-based business, we might need to talk about that at another time, but cash basis business, this is really important. Okay, so the jobs of profit, I'm going to just list them off for you. Taxes. You have to pay your taxes. You have to repay debt. Profit is used for reinvestment into the business. Profit is used for cash savings. And then profit is used for owner's distributions. Okay, so we'll go through those one by one. So if you have a profit in your business, let's say you made $100,000 last year in profit in your business, you are going to have a tax liability. Unless for some reason you have prior year issues that are rolling into this year and helping lower your taxes, most likely if you're making $100,000 of profit, you probably have a tax liability. So you need to think about that profit number is the number that's going to help you fund paying your taxes. So you need to think about that. I see it all the time. I just talked to a business owner a couple weeks ago who was not saving for her taxes and was taking all of the extra profit out of her business as an owner's draw. And now she's left with a really big tax liability and no cash to pay it. So we've kind of all heard stories about that before, but you do not want to be that person. You want to make sure that as you're generating profit, you're setting money aside from that profit amount to make sure that you can cover your tax liability. And I have other videos about how to save for taxes, so I can link those below, but that is extremely important. Your profit that you make, you always have to think, some of this is not mine. Some of this has to go to the government. And I know people are trying to minimize their tax liability as much as possible, and I'm all for smart tax planning strategies, but The truth is that you're not going to get out of paying taxes if you are making money. You might be able to pay a little bit of less because of some of your other strategies, but you are going to have to pay some taxes, okay? So please just do it and think of it as like, hey, I'm making a lot of money, so I'm going to pay a lot of taxes. Like, that's how I think about it whenever I write a check to the IRS. I'm like, well, I must have made a lot of money because this was a big check that I wrote. So I, think about it like that. And don't try to make your profit zero just to avoid taxes. I have a video on that as well. Okay, another thing that you need to think about for your profit is that it's going to help you repay debt. So if you have debt in your business and you have maybe you have lots of loans, like equipment loans in your business. I talked recently to a dentist who had a lot of equipment loans and some property loans, and the business needed to pay off that debt. And so that was coming out of the profit of the business because the payments that we make to service our debt are not showing up on our profit and loss. The interest portion is, but the actual principal payment that pays down the loan principal does not show on your profit and loss statement. That is what we call a balance sheet transaction. And so you need to make enough profit to have that extra cash flow to go and pay off debt. Okay, so if you are holding debt and you're trying to get to 0% profit, you're going to have cash flow issues. You're going to have cash flow issues. You have to make a profit if you want to pay off debt. There's no way around it. And when you make a profit, you also need to then pay for taxes. This is how debt can just really get you into a bad spiral really quickly. It's because if you have debt and you think you're doing some kind of great trickery by, not making a profit so you don't have to pay taxes, you're just going to get stuck in a debt spiral and you're going to get stuck in a cash flow challenge. So profit needs to cover taxes and debt. It also needs to cover any type of reinvestment into the business, like future reinvestment. So your current reinvestments, maybe they're showing up in your profit and loss, and so that's in your expenses. But, if you're like, hey, next year I want to hire a new marketing manager, or next year I want to invest in a software that's really going to help me improve my business. Those are investments that you're going to need to have cash to pay for. Okay. So anytime you want to, do something new in the business, think that's kind of money that I need to have in order to put back into the business. And that has to come from profit as well. It could come from debt. You could go out and get a loan and invest that money into the business, but then you're in that situation where you now have debt and you're going to need to service that debt and pay it down over time, which would require profit. See how it's all pointing back to the same thing. Okay, now the fourth job of profit is that it will help you build cash savings. So I see business owners all the time, they don't have enough cash. They're always just really cash strapped and they're kind of floating around. They're kind of moving money here and there. They just don't have enough of a cash buffer in their business. And they really need to have closer to 3 to 6 months of monthly operating costs in their bank account. The only way you can get there is by generating profit in excess of your reinvestment, in excess of your tax payment, in excess of your debt payments. You have to have profit in excess of that in order to build up cash in the business. And so this means that sometimes we need to be making a lot more profit than what we think we need to. Because if we have goals to say hey, I have half a month of cash right now, and I want to get to 3 months of cash by the end of the year, that's a lot of cash to stack up in a short amount of time. And it would make sense that you need to generate profit in order to build up that cash. Okay. Now, the fifth job of profit, and the one that we all want to be able to do, is you can do owner's distributions with profit. So if you are paying yourself as a sole proprietor, and the way that you are getting money out of your business is you are taking owner's distribution, guess what? That has to come from profit. That's not showing up on your P&L anywhere. So you have to make enough profit then to cover your tax liability, to cover any debt payments, to cover any reinvestments, to cover any needs for cash savings, and to cover your owner's distribution. So we might get into the situation where maybe you have a, $20,000 profit per month, then you need to save 25 to 30% of that for taxes. And then maybe you have a $1,000 debt payment. And then you might want to save some money for a future thing you're trying to reinvest into the business, and you were trying to build up cash. And then you might realize actually, I only can take about a $5,000 distribution when I look at everything my profit needs to do for me. I might only be able to have about $5,000 this month, even though my profit said $20,000. A lot of business owners would look at that and they'd say, great, I'm just $20,000 richer. They will take $20,000 out of the business, and then they're going to be in a really, really sticky situation when the IRS comes knocking for their money, and then the debt needs to be paid and they're struggling with cash flow in the business, and then they don't have any extra cash to reinvest. So we can't just look at the profit number and say, yay, that's our owner's draw, okay? You have to think about these other things and the other jobs of profit, okay? So hopefully this has been really helpful for you. If you had any aha moments during this video, please put them in the comment section below. And if you have any other questions about profit and how to use it, please also put those in the comment section below. All right, well, hopefully this has been helpful, and I will see you in the next video.